Welcome to this Pulse of Wisdom session. It is my honor to welcome Dr. Udayan Dixit sir on this stage. A humble, respectable, and successful clinician from Pune. Vidya Vinayena Shobhate. Dixit sir graduated in 1980 from BJ Medical College, Pune. He passed MS in ophthalmology with flying colors. He was a recipient of gold medal. He received his DNB degree in 1986. After passing PLAB examination in 1984, he went to England. He received permanent license to practice in United Kingdom. He has done overseas training in several hospitals in United Kingdom, Boston, USA, and Philadelphia. He was on editorial board of Journal of Clinical Ophthalmology and Research. Several research papers are on his name. His work and research on diabetic retinopathy is remarkable. He has a number of awards to his credit. To name a few, Dr. YKC Pandit Award, Oration Award at Deccan Ophthalmological Society, Goa Ophthalmological Society, Research Society, BJMC Pune, and Best Paper Prize at All India Ophthalmic Society. He is not just a sound clinician, but also an effective social worker who has contributed to welfare of the masses. He has been actively involved in free screening camps in Arunachal Pradesh. He is working in remote villages. It is a wonderful thing that he is working twice a year in Arunachal Pradesh, and that too, he is not taking any help from government and NGOs. He worked as a chairman scientific committee, Maharashtra Ophthalmic Society in 2007. He is a multifaceted personality. Beyond his role as a clinician and academician, he is a sports person too. He has played in tennis tournaments with former India Davis Cup captain Nandan Bal. He has also played a main role in the famous national award-winning Marathi movie based on Sapekar brothers. And last but not the least, he is fortunate to have a strong support in his every work throughout his life journey from his wife, Mrs. Naina Dixit. Thank you, sir, for agreeing to this conversation.
Thank you very much, Tejaswini. I'm extremely grateful for this wonderful introduction. Thank you very much.
Sir, you got the opportunity to work in United Kingdom as well as in Pune, India. Every coin has two sides, few positive aspects and few negative aspects. In your view, which positive aspects Indian doctors should learn or adapt from UK doctors?
I have been fortunate, Tejaswini, to work in United Kingdom for the last 36 or 37 years, though intermittently. So I have led a kind of dual life. And it is very true, as you said, that every coin has two sides. So there are some good points to be taken from United Kingdom, and there is a flip side to it as well. If I decide and think about what are the good points in UK doctors, I would rather say that we have to take clues from the system of medicine in UK and not only the doctors. The system of medical care in UK, as you all know, is NHS or National Health Service. One of the hallmarks of National Health Service is uniformity of medical care.
Yeah.
By that, I mean that if we see private hospital setups in corporate cities in our country, they are excellent at par with United Kingdom. And on many occasions, we are even better than them. It's a thing of pride for all of us. But if we go down from metropolitan cities to other cities, towns, and villages, the quality of medical care can go down. And ultimately, many parts of the country have no medical care at all. But in United Kingdom, right from London, the capital, to the smallest of town, the medical care is very uniform. That is about NHS. If we see the General Medical Council or the GMC, it has certain rules and regulations by which a doctor has to abide. Almost all the doctors, including ophthalmologists, follow Royal College guidelines. So they strictly follow the guidelines written down. And because of that, they practice evidence-based medicine and, very importantly, protocol-driven treatment. So Dr. A, Dr. B, and Dr. C will tell the same investigations to the patient, the same kind of treatment. Of course, there are patients in whom exceptions have to be made. We have to cater to individual patient on a custom basis, but mostly this protocol-driven treatment is followed. That's a very strong aspect of the system of medical care. Another point is that throughout your medical practice or your career, you have to undergo clinical audit. Your work is assessed. You also have to undergo what is called as revalidation once in a few years, in which a senior doctor from your own department or the administrative head of your hospital will assess you. But very importantly, almost 50 patients give their confidential report about you, about your efficiency, about your behavior. Are there any shortcomings or are there any bad qualities in your behavior? And if anything goes against you, your registration is at least temporarily suspended. So everybody has to abide the rules, stay inside the rules and work. That gives you a lot of discipline. Every patient is seen exactly as a drill. You may see a patient just for presbyopic correction, but the college guidelines teach you that whatever may be the complaint, the patient must undergo a full drill of examination so that you don't miss anything. You can catch diseases early. So these are some very plus points. To this, I must add that there is a flip side or a negative side to the medical care. There are long waiting lists, sometimes a few months or even a year for surgeries like cataract and joint replacement. Another thing is very important from the patient's point of view. The patients never pay the doctor directly. Money is one situation where there can be a bit of friction between patients and the doctor. If you advise any investigations or any treatment, the patient may feel, is it really necessary or is the doctor trying to fleece me? That situation doesn't arise because everything is free under NHS. But it is extremely difficult for a patient to contact a consultant directly. But we Indians are very, very easily approachable. Patients can pick up the telephone and contact us in our clinic and in certain situations, even at our residence. That is totally lacking in England. We as Indian doctors or as Indian individuals, we always have tremendous respect for our elderly. This kind of respect is inculcated in us. It is not artificial. All Indian doctors are like that. We show a lot of empathy towards our patient. So I feel if this disciplinary attitude of United Kingdom is combined with the empathy of Indian doctors, it can be amalgamated into a situation where you can be an excellent doctor. So taking good points from the United Kingdom, retaining our values of humanity, I think we can be excellent doctors in India as well.
Yeah. Of course, there is a necessity for improvement in a system to improve the quality of the patients.
Absolutely. And in that, as I mentioned, the names, the government, the regulations, regulatory bodies like General Medical Council or let's say Medical Council of India, they play a large role so that the people have to follow rules, to stay in the rules. We must learn to follow guidelines which are given to us, say, for example, All India Ophthalmological Society, and we must practice in that parameter so that our quality of practice will always remain good.
Yeah, sure. So this is an era of social media and advertisement. And every other day we come across some advertise from doctors or health professionals. We also know that the news which reaches us through print media or social media, many times it is a fake news or paid news. It's an open secret now. So should we advertise, and what ethics or principle we should follow before advertising?
Tejaswini, I feel that advertisement actually falls in the domain of business.
Yeah.
Advertisement is a part and parcel of business. I agree that we are slowly shifting to a modality of treatment or management which is have linking or which has some inclinations towards business as well. But we must remember that we are not doing business. If you advertise, then you will be in the same club as the business. On one hand, we say that things like CPA or Consumer Protection Act, the doctor should not be included. We should not be called as business people. Patients are not consumers. But if you advertise, you are putting yourself in a situation where you will be equated with businesses. So you can't have both the things. So advertisement is, of course, not good at all. But times change. Whatever our values were in the past, we must learn to evolve. And that evolution is necessary for a doctor because we must pass on information to the patients. Everybody knows that today information is a big weapon. It's a huge power. So information must be disseminated amongst the patients. Imagine the plight of patients who live in small towns who don't have access to uh, doctors of all kinds or to media. There are so many new treatments available in ophthalmology, in rheumatology, where there are drugs which work like magic, and in many fields of medicine. But that information must reach the patient so that they can at least try to avail of those facilities. So information must be passed on. There is a very thin line between advertisement and information.
Mhm.
But in order to give information but not advertise, we have to introspect. We have to put our own barriers. We have to remember that we are in a noble profession. So giving information to the society is a very big duty, but it should not cross that thin line, as we call Lakshman Resha in Marathi,
Yeah.
and go on the side of the advertisement. That is not really good.
Yes.
Even media, I always feel, particularly in the COVID era, media is a very, very powerful medium. They can influence the society like nobody else can. But I felt during COVID era that media is almost like a paramedical service. They can pass on so much of information about restrictions, about leniency, about vaccines, etc. So I really felt that media is like a paramedical service. So they should also keep some rules to themselves. They should also see to it that they don't pass on this fake music. I always say that to the media whenever there are interviews on television that you have such big power, but power is a double-edged weapon. So don't misuse it or use it ruthlessly. Think how much significant power you have. And I would like to satisfy their ego by saying that you are a paramedical service. So think about that responsibility, that power that you have. And if they and the doctors both introspect, keep the rules and regulations, there is no need to advertise. Don't cross that thin line. But giving information is the need of the hour for which social media can be used, certainly.
Yeah. So every doctor should know his or her individual responsibility.
Yes.
So my third question is towards your own life. The ultimate goal of life is happiness and satisfaction. And according to our Indian tradition or Indian philosophy, several paths have been described, like karma yoga, jnana marga, bhakti marga, path of devotion, action, knowledge, service. And you chose the path of Nishkama Seva, that is selfless service. So, can you tell us about your social work in Arunachal Pradesh?
Tejaswini, I personally feel that in every individual's life, in doctors, but in other fields as well, there are phases in everybody's life.
Yeah.
Somehow, in the Indian psyche, it is impressed on us that earning money is some kind of a sin. If you're doing something to earn money, that's bad. I don't think that's the truth or that's correct. In the early phase of life, everybody has to earn money. Everybody needs to earn money. You have to look after your family. You have to educate your children. You have to look after the health of your parents. Nothing comes for free. So for that, you must earn money, and there is nothing wrong in that. After a little while, you evolve into the second phase of life where actually you're working for your name. Your name should not be spoiled. You want to attain a certain status in the society and you start working for that. Much later than that, a third phase comes in your life, which is called self realization.
Yeah.
In that situation, when I'm working, even if I'm not paid a single penny, I'm not going to be patted on my back for doing some good work. Nobody's observing my work. But I must feel that if I'm doing something, it must be the best. That is self realization. Doesn't matter if anybody realizes that or not. So that phase you must nurture very well. And then a phase comes when your responsibilities are over. Your kids are well settled, you have looked after your parents very well. But once these responsibilities are over, everybody must realize that it is time to give back. You must give back to the society. I was extremely fortunate that I was approached by an organization which told me that will you go to Arunachal Pradesh and work? Everybody wants to do something, but you don't know exactly what to do, where to do that work. So I actually consider that this is a godsend for me that somebody approached me and asked me to work in Arunachal Pradesh, which actually is a social work as well as patriotic work. The reason why it is patriotic, these some of these states in the northeast, four or five of those famous seven sisters which everybody visits, we know that there is a very powerful neighbor who's uh, actually looking at these states in such a way that they consider that those states do not belong to India.
Mm.
It belongs to them. But I found in Arunachal Pradesh, and I was told this, that people in Arunachal Pradesh still say Jai Hind, but they have been neglected.
Yeah.
So it is our duty to reach out to them and tell them that we are your co-brothers. We care for you. You are one of us. We will protect you, we'll help you. So when I got this opportunity to go to Arunachal Pradesh, it was no doubt social work. But you can do social work in 50 kilometers or 100 kilometers radius. Why go such long distances? But the reason is this little frill of patriotism which is attached to it. This is I know, I'm very well aware that I'm a very small drop in the ocean to do this. But why not make a beginning? So I feel extremely nice when I go to these small villages along the border of China and Myanmar. Every time I go to different villages, I stay with families and I work, and I show to them that we care for you. So this phase of giving something to the society, if everybody decides to do it, it is really welcome. I know that there are some people who give back to the society and do charity from the first phase in life.
Mm.
I consider these people as saints, truly. But I am not a saint. I am an ordinary person. But at least after the first three phases are over, I think it is everybody's duty to give back to the society, to the nation if possible, so that your life will be extremely happy and you will have fulfillment in life.
Yeah. True, sir. Sir, can you please tell us one small story from your life journey to the young ophthalmologist or young doctors?
It's always difficult to choose one story. Everybody has a lot of incidences and stories to tell. Some of them are very personal, some of them to do with your family, with your friends. I think I should tell about an incident which has to do with medicine and ophthalmology. And I think after listening to this story, doctors could get inspired. This story dates back about 7 or 8 years ago. As you mentioned in my introduction, that I have been working in United Kingdom because I have registration over there. I got my registration way back in 1984, and that time it was called limited registration, by which I got registration for 5 years. And whenever I used to go there and work, say for 2 months, then 2 months would be deducted from that 5 years registration. It was like a fixed deposit in the bank. So after working for 2 months, I was left with 4 months, 4 years, and 10 months. Then again, after 6 months or a year, I used to go work for 3 months. 3 months used to be deducted. And I could keep on doing that until I completely finished off those 5 years. I must have finished about 50% of that. In between, for a few years, I could not go to England because I was trying to establish myself in India. I had become quite busy in my practice. But after 4 or 5 years, again, I thought that I must go there, break the monotony, learn something new. So very casually, I applied for a job. And to my surprise, I got a message from General Medical Council that your registration is cancelled. It was a big shock for me. And I said, why is it cancelled? They said that we had sent an email to all the doctors that your limited registration would be converted to permanent registration if you just write to us. I said, do you think that I'm a foolish person? If somebody is offering me permanent registration instead of limited registration, who will not want it? But I never got that mail. That's why I didn't send you the reply. So I'm telling you now. So please convert my limited registration into full registration. They said, no, we can't do that. You have to give PLAB again.
Oh.
Imagine after working in ophthalmology for about 2 decades, somebody asks you to give MBBS level examination. It's not easy, but basically it's not fair. Once you give an examination, you don't have to give that exam again. So I applied to them. They rejected my application. I appealed in the appellate tribunal. That also was rejected. So I was dejected, but I said, it's okay. I mean, my registration is finished. That's all right. I will not do a job in UK anymore. But some professors in United Kingdom, namely Professor Dua, who all of us know so well, he told me that, Udayan, don't give up like this. This is injustice to you. You must fight for it. Go to the court. We as doctors, we are very scared of the word called court because we only hear about cases against us. I said, no, I don't want to go to the court. He said, no, you must go to the court. You must fight for truth. So I told the GMC that I want to go to the court against you. GMC said that if you cannot afford or if you don't have facility, GMC will give you a lawyer to represent yourself. I thought that should I take it or not? And then I thought the way I would defend myself, nobody else will, because I'll be full of passion when I talk for myself. So I said, no, thank you. I will represent myself. But I can't just go as a blank person and represent myself. So I took tuitions from lawyers in Pune. I learned how to defend myself. I learned how to present myself in front of the judges. I was taught that if there are more than one judges, some judge will be for you, somebody will be against you, but you can make out from their body language. Look at them and you will understand which judge is in your favor and which judge is against you. So I learned all that. I took tutorials and I went for the case. I went several times. I asked, how long is the case from 11 to 11:30, 12 to 1? What is the timing for my case? They said, your case is from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. The case used to go for 8 hours. I entered the courtroom and in front of me were two barristers representing General Medical Council, typical with that white wig which we see in movies, English old Hollywood movies, two barristers with white wig. That was quite intimidating for me. I had to face two barristers, but I said, it's okay. There were three judges. The chief judge was a senior lady. There was another lady judge and a very senior gentleman who was a third judge. So I was asked, do you want an Asian judge? I said, no. If I feel that I'm correct, it doesn't matter. I don't believe in discrimination. I don't mind at all if all the three judges are British. So this is how I reacted. So from the beginning, I did not show any kind of weakness. I fought the case. I knew everything about medicine. I knew everything about regulations. The judge used to ask the barrister that, what is the meaning of this plan? These judges are not doctors. So the barrister would say, Your Honor, I will look into it and in the afternoon session, I'll tell what the plan is. And I used to raise my hand and said, I don't know if it is against the ethics, but Your Honor, can I tell you what is PLAB? PLAB is Professional and Linguistic Assessment Board Examination. So I could score over the barristers in so many things because it was my profession. The arguments ended at 5 o'clock and the result was about to be declared when something very unprecedented happened. One of the lady judges, the junior one, who actually was against me, I could make out. I had learned to read who is with me and who is against me. She was against me. She fell ill and she had to be rushed to the hospital. So the bailiff came and he told us that, unfortunately, this is something very unusual, but the judge had to be rushed to the hospital. So whatever has been done throughout the day is null and void. This case has cancelled as of today. It will be taken up again, maybe after 2 days or maybe after 2 months. I said, I have come all the way from India. What do I do? He said, I can't guide you because I can't commit anything. I came back to India. On the day of Diwali, I got an email from the court that your case will be taken up day after tomorrow. Imagine Diwali days, all the festivities going on. I told my wife, Naina, that Naina, I'm really tired. I don't want to go now. I had some guests at home for dinner. They said, no, you have fought it so much. Don't leave it now. You must go. So I took the night flight and I went again to England. They had told me that the judges could be completely different. You'll have to start from scratch all over again. But to my fortune, they were the same three judges. So the background was already there. But the presentations and everything started from the word scratch. Every day before I went to the court, I used to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning and do some homework. How am I going to represent myself? So when I started my arguments, I was given the first chance before the barrister had changed, incidentally. It was a new barrister. So I got up and I said, looking to that younger judge, I said, Your Honor, I may win this case or I may lose this case. I have come all the way from India to defend myself. But whether I win or not, it doesn't matter. It is very important for me to remember that firstly, I am a doctor. And Your Honor, about a month back when this case was going on, I came to know that you were not well and you had to be rushed to a hospital. So it's my duty to ask you as a doctor, Your Honor, are you well now? How are you feeling? She looked at me, she gave me a smile, and I knew that I have won her over. So because I gave more preference to being a doctor than defending that case, I could immediately make out that now everything that I say she's going to take in the right spirit. The case again went on for the whole day. The judgment was about to be pronounced. The judges asked the GMC for a compromise. Will you give Dr. Dixit permanent registration? He will promise you that he will never do private practice in England. The GMC said, no, we don't want to give him permanent registration, even for hospital work. The judges were quite furious. They said that with immediate effect, because of evidence provided by Dr. Dixit of what work he is doing in India, by providing us with the case papers of outpatient and theatre work, it is proved beyond doubt that the work that he does in India is equivalent to, or in some situations superior to, the medicine in United Kingdom. So the court hereby directs General Medical Council to immediately reinstate full registration of Dr. Dixit, and any form of appeal for GMC is not allowed. This was not my victory. The way the judgment was given, I have all those, it's a 7 papers judgment. This speaks volumes of Indian medicine.
Yeah.
That if you do very good work, even in United Kingdom in this era, it was judged as equivalent or in some situations better than UK medicine. This is a victory of Indian medicine. This is a victory of the kind of education that we have got, of Medical Council of India. So from this, I want all the doctors to know that if you know that you are fighting for something which you feel is absolutely correct, some kind of injustice is being done to you, some kind of unfairness is there, you must fight, which I learned because actually I was hesitant, but thanks to some seniors, I continue to fight. So if you have that conviction that what you have done is right, you must not give up and fight. But when you fight or when you pursue something, don't go unprepared. If I didn't know how to defend myself, those barristers would have eaten me alive. They were such experts, but I had gone fully prepared. I had learned a lot how to defend myself. So when you go into a new venture or want to do something, and if you have a conviction that what you are doing is right, do that, but be very well trained for that. And if you go with that training and with that passion, you will win. That's the interesting story of my life.
Great lesson, sir. Means you showed courage, your patience, and your hard work. Everything paid, and everybody should learn from this story. So, 2 quick questions. Which leadership skill you feel it's most important?
I feel as a leader, everybody must say that everybody should follow me. I have learned something, I've become a leader, so everybody should try to emulate me and follow the path that I'm showing you. But I feel that the biggest responsibility or the skill of a leader is to create other leaders. You are not immortal, or you may be a leader in one particular fraternity, but you may cross over and go to something else, and you may keep a void. So a leader must encourage people and give them good lessons, make them better. But I think the biggest duty that a leader has to perform is to create other leaders. So even when you move from one place to the other, or when you're not there anymore, your biggest duty has been performed is to create other leaders. That I think is the biggest duty of any leader.
Yes. And what is your formula to deal with disappointment and failure?
Disappointments and failures, everybody has to face them. I can be philosophical and say that, well, it's a part of life. You must take it in your stride. But when it happens to you, you are very much dejected. When you are disappointed, when you fail, it's all right philosophically, take it in your stride. You are dejected. But now when I look back, I have also undergone disappointments and failures. But when I look back, if I continue to work whatever I was doing, honestly, sincerely, without getting angry and doing something very foolish, if you continue to do good work, many of these failures were converted into at least total or partial success. So whenever a failure comes to me now, I take a small glance at my past and see that I just crossed over those disappointments and failures, continued to do my good work, and they got converted into success from failures. As I said, maybe fully or maybe partially. So now I just take a glance at the past, but keep concentrating at the future. Well, I've failed in this, but let me continue what I'm doing. And from past experience, I know that success will definitely follow the failure.
Sure, sir. Sir, one last question. You are a successful clinician and you are working for a social cause. selfless service. You love teaching. You enjoyed playing tennis also, and you acted in film also. So I would like to ask you a question, whether your multifaceted personality help to have an enriched and happy life.
It certainly does. One of my gurus had told me, I will name him because I must give whatever I am today. I always am humble enough to say that everything that I am today is thanks to all the teachers who have taught me. Late Dr. H.V. Sardesai, who was my guru, he taught me that Udayan, you must sit down quietly and think and notice every small asset that you have. You may have some big assets, some very tiny assets. Think about all of them and utilize all those assets in your career. At the same time, you must also understand what are your limitations, probably more important than knowing your assets. And whatever are your limitations and you really cannot conquer them, don't indulge into those fields. But definitely note what your assets are. So for example, teaching comes with reading. If you keep on reading, you enrich your knowledge, you become a teacher. So I said, as much as you read, if you keep on reading, you can always stay a good teacher. So I feel that if you stay as a student throughout your life, you will always stay as a teacher throughout your life. Even today, I am a student, so I have taught, and I'll try to keep on teaching because I will never give up being a student. I love reading. As far as tennis is concerned, I was very enthusiastic about it. I used to play with Nandan Bar, my close friend who ultimately became captain of the Davis Cup of India. But there was a fork in front of me, whether I'll choose tennis or I'll go into medicine. And I, of course, chose to take medicine. Nandan chose to take tennis. He became extremely successful. I don't have that kind of athleticism now, but that taught me about exercise. And to this date, from those teenage days, I've always given importance to my health and exercise, and that helps me to stay healthy. As far as acting is concerned, again, I was at a fork when my movie was released. It got national award, many state awards, Filmfare Award for the best regional film. It's a very glamorous world. You can be very easily attracted to it. But in that fork, again, I chose medicine because I thought it's my duty and it's a longer career. I never repent that I took that decision. But whatever assets I had when I was acting in theater before and then in that movie, I don't have even a little bit of stage fright. I know how to talk to people. So from the first year of my private practice, I started talking on the dais and giving lectures in conferences. It's a norm today, but in late 80s, it was not a norm. It was very difficult to talk in conferences, and certainly for a very junior person like me. But I had no stage fright. I used to read, study, go on the dais and start talking. That way, I made my name in the medical fraternity. I made use of this ability to speak and to communicate with people in talking to general public. I kept on talking on radio, on television, in many meetings, and I would give lectures in Marathi, Hindi, and English, of course, but trying to reach out to people to give information to them, to remove the myths from their minds. So I use those skills which I developed in acting in my medical profession to talk in conferences and to reach out to people and talk to them. So if you make use of all these small assets, sometimes you may not even realize some small assets which you have, but you must think quietly and understand all those assets. And if you use all those assets, you become a good doctor and you can become an excellent and useful person in the society.
Yeah. So all these skills helped you to become a better person and better professional also.
Yes, it did help.
Yeah. Thank you very much, sir. This interview and your words of wisdom will definitely help everyone to become a better person and better professional also. Thank you.
Thank you, Tejaswini. Thank you.